Welcome, boils and ghouls, to the Cryptique Podcast. My name's Kenny, and I'm here with my good friend Godden, and together we're here to watch and review every bone-chilling, horrific, terrifying, and often hilarious episode of the legendary HBO anthology series, Tales from the Crypt. And here we are. Godden, how are you?
Doing well. Excited.
Excited?
How are you?
I'm excited too. I think I know why you're excited, Godden. This was a good episode. What did you think?
I was not expecting this episode to be actually that entertaining, honestly.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I am. This was a good episode. But before we get there, let's take care of some housekeeping. Let's let the audience know what the heck they're getting themselves into. We are on Season 1, Episode 6. This is the season finale of Season 1. It's called Collection Completed. It aired on June 28th, 1989. It comes from the comic The Vault of Horror. And spoiler warning, if you have not seen the show or this episode in particular, go ahead and watch it on your own and then come back and hear us babble about it. So I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. So go ahead and, get to it and watch it however you can. Now, I've been watching these using the actual DVD box set. Now, I don't want to include any links down below because I'm worried about, legal things and stuff like that. But I heard rumors that these are available on YouTube. So, whether or not they're still available when you finally listen to this podcast, that is up to you to figure out. But I've been watching them on the actual box set. Now, before we get into it, let me go ahead and read the description on the ancient scrolls, inked in blood, on the back of the DVD box set here. That's right, inked in blood. Inked in human blood. Is it human blood, or maybe it's just pig's blood? I don't know. Every retiree needs a pet project, so Jonas takes up taxidermy, turning the many pets his wife Anita dotes upon into a stuffed menagerie. Sit still, don't move. This one will leave you in stitches. So, as we already, let the cat out the bag, let the taxidermied cat out the bag, we liked this episode. This was a lot of fun, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of fun, actually. I would like to watch it again, realistically, after the first time.
Yeah, it was very funny. The acting was on point.
So funny.
The acting was on point from every single actor involved. The situations were funny. It was just altogether a very amusing episode. I enjoyed thoroughly this episode. Everybody had, you could tell, such a great time playing their character in this. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this one too. It starts off with the Crypt Keeper, and this Crypt Keeper in this opening, I like how close up the camera is up on his face. You can really see all the detail in like the puppetry and like the mechanics of his face and all of his facial gestures. It's so close. It's really, really cool. And then when the camera pulls back, he's kind of sitting up on a big boulder or something, or some sort of a stone in his crypt. And you can see his feet. Did you notice his feet?
I did. He's so tiny. Just a tiny little puppet.
Yeah, I like seeing his little feet dangle off the edge, kind of moving his little toes. It was kind of cute seeing him in that position. I like also how he kind of introduces the episode by saying, before tonight's terror tale, I'd like to introduce you to my pet, Peeves. And it's a little stuffed dog that he has down there. I like that he named his pet Peeves. That's clever.
It is clever.
And that really goes into the theme of the episode because it has to do with pets and a particular person's pet peeves at the same time. So it was a very good double entendre. Very good little pun. Very, very good introduction. Was it my shriek of the week? It was not. I was thinking about having it be my shriek of the week, but one at the very end is actually much, much better. Now, he introduces this using a similar alliteration he did last week. This one here is, I call this chunk of chilling charnel chatter collection completed. That's a lot of C's in a row. I like that. Chunk of chilling charnel chatter collection completed. Woo!
You could be the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, he was on one in that one. That was good. All right, so the episode opens with our panel, and let's talk about the panel for a little bit. It looks like a man, an older man, definitely a retiree of the right age to be the main character, and he looks like he's down in the basement, and he's got a cat in a cage, and it looks like he's doing something nefarious to the cat. The cat seems kind of weary of him, kind of like in a position like he's trying to hiss maybe at the man. And there's a woman looking from above, right? She's in the doorway above the basement, and she's looking, and she has her hand over her mouth like, oh, he's doing something right nefarious. He's down there. He's up to no good, it looks like. And he's definitely got a grimace on his face like he's up to no good. So that paints a pretty good picture there. I like how it's very, very dark. There's very dark black accents in the walls around the basement downstairs, and lots of browns and very earthy colors. It gives it almost looks like something you can smell, like a very musty location down there in the basement.
Yeah, and then in the background with the deer, the stags.
Yeah, and he does. There already are some, looks like some taxidermied animals up on the wall. I didn't even realize that. I was thinking of taxidermied pets. I wasn't thinking of the fact that they also have stuffed, deer and elk and whatnot. All right. Scene 1 opens up in like a downstairs living room. It's dark. It's nighttime, right? Very dark and stormy night outside. It's raining. There's lightning and thunder. Very, very creepy atmosphere to start off. And there's like a short montage as the camera kind of goes around the living room, and you see lots of pets around the house. There's birds. And there's fish. There's cat statues. This clearly is an animal lover's living room. And did you notice the birds? I actually had some neighbors who had birds, and every night they had to put like a blanket or a towel over the bird cage so the bird would recognize it was nighttime and they'd actually go to sleep. But in this particular house, they didn't have the blanket over the bird. So I'd noticed that.
Whenever they go to bed, they'll go to bed.
Yeah, who knows? And I don't own birds. I don't know. Maybe you don't have to always have it like that, but being a neighbor to a bird owner, I just happen to know that you're supposed to put a blanket over them at night, and they didn't. So maybe whoever takes care of these animals maybe doesn't really care. I don't know. Or maybe the person who directed the episode didn't know to have that on there. Oh, I don't know. Or I guess if it was covered up, you'd never be able to see it. If it was covered up on this particular dark and stormy night, you would never know she had birds. So
it's for us. It's not for the birds.
That's right. That was for the viewer. They were not harmed.
Yeah, it's for the viewers.
Mm-hmm. So there's an old woman who's kind of giddily getting the dining room area set up, and she brings out a cake, and she's kind of sneaking, and there seems to be people or somebody in the kitchen that she keeps telling, be quiet, shh, he's almost here, as she's putting the cake out. So I got the impression of like a surprise birthday party or something like that. Mm-hmm. Then she hears something at the door. What can it possibly be? So she goes to the door, she opens it up, and it's a kitty. A little kitty cat is on the doorstep, and she picks up the cat and she slams the door shut. And she did so a little too early, though, because her husband had just arrived, and she slammed the door right in his face. So she has to open the door back up, and Jonas, her husband, is standing out there in the cold. He was left out in the cold and the rain, and he's very, very upset about that. And he's holding a big old box of his possessions from his work. And they start going through this box. One of the things in the box is like a giant golden hammer. And she says, "What's this?" And he says, 47 goddamn years at Suntime Hand Tools. 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And look at that thing. Some thanks. Can't even tell time with it. So he's not happy about this parting gift he gets from his work, a golden hammer. So at this point, I wasn't sure if it was like his birthday that she was planning on celebrating, or was it his retirement that she was planning on celebrating. I don't know. Either way, they had some festivities planned tonight, and she insists that they try to enjoy themselves. So he goes to sit down at the table to enjoy his cake, and he ends up accidentally sitting on a cat toy, and this really upsets him. He jumps out of his chair and says, what the heck is this thing? This doesn't belong here. And I like her reaction. She says, I don't know how that got there. The cats know that's your chair. like the cats know better in her mind. The cats know exactly where their toy should go.
Yeah, because as soon as he sat down and the toy got caught by him, he's like, What I do now? Just check every little thing in the house where I live, like every little thing, just before I just like sit down." I love how like upset he was getting. Like it was just good delivery. Like I felt his pain. Like he couldn't relax at home about it.
Yeah, in that moment, I did really relate to Jonas because I've got a little bit of the OCD. So whenever I put something down, that's where it lives, and that's where it always needs to stay. And if things are always being mixed up on me, that really drives me crazy. So in that one instance, I can relate to Jonas, I suppose. So Jonas now pleads with her. He says, "You can get rid of all these animals. I'm going to be home all day right here in this goddamn house." So now that he's home, he wants all these animals gone. But Anita has obviously grown connected to these animals over the years, so she doesn't want to get rid of them. But that's kind of the setup for really the whole episode. Right? The whole episode basically is Anita loves these animals. There's so many of them, and he doesn't want them there, but they're going to clash. And their clash throughout this whole episode is just absolutely hilarious.
I love these characters. Like they're so funny. Like their interaction is so well done. Like when you mentioned him coming up with all his retirement stuff, and she's like, "Oh, what's this?" And then he's just like complaining. He's like, "Never mind the 17 years I put in. Never mind me being regional sales manager. Like, never mind this." It's just like he's just so disgruntled with everything.
Disgruntled. That's a really good word. Yeah, he's very, very disgruntled. He does not feel appreciated. He never felt appreciated at work, and he's not feeling appreciated at home. I definitely get that sense from him. So Jonas is upset. He storms off to bed, leaving Anita downstairs by herself. And she finally goes into the kitchen, revealing all the people that she's been talking to all along. And it's just a kitchen full of animals, dogs and cats and all kinds of just animals there. So she definitely, she personifies all her animals.
It's so because like everything he says to her is so good because like right when he walks upstairs and she's like, "What? Like you don't want to continue the party?" He's like, too tired. That's all he had to say. I could not stop grinning watching this episode. It was just so the pacing of the jokes are just well timed.
Yeah,
could not.
This is a comedy episode here. Yeah, this is really, really funny.
It really is.
So the next scene, they're in bed and he wakes up and he's like, I'm late. He wakes up at 6 o'clock. I'm assuming maybe for work he was supposed to get up at like 5 or something like that. I don't know, but he wakes up, he thinks he's late, and he realizes, wait a minute, I have all the time in the world. I can sleep in. So he lays down and he ends up getting up by 6:01. So he slept in for an extra 1 minute. And that's something else I can relate to because once I'm up, I am up. I have a hard time getting back to sleep when I wake up, especially when the sun starts poking through the curtains at home. I'm up. I'm not, there's no more sleeping for Kenny at that point.
Because he said he was working since he was like 17. He doesn't know what that schedule's like, not having a job anymore. Like he had a routine for that long.
And we learn later on in this episode, he's absolutely a busybody. He's got to be doing something all the time. Anita just wants to sit and relax and enjoy her day and, do her cooking or just watching TV or just kind of sitting around. He is not about that. Jonas, he's a doer. He's a go-getter. So I also like in this morning, they have a hard time in the bathroom because clearly he's always at work. So they don't really have a routine together that where they spend that much time together. So when they're in the bathroom, he has to go to the bathroom, like number 2. He's got to sit down.
Yeah.
He's got to take a dump, basically. But she's there. She's like brushing her teeth and then she wants to take a bath and he's kind of waiting impatiently. So finally he tells her like, you got to get out of here because I got to sit down. Yeah, their time together is very awkward. They clearly don't spend a lot of time together. So he's usually probably always at work. And then when he comes home, he probably goes right to bed. So they don't spend much time together.
I mean, yeah, like him brushing his teeth, and she found it interesting and funny that he brushes like a mad dog. It's like, yeah, they never saw each other in the morning. They never saw like how they got ready and how, like when they could go to bed. Because I assume maybe he just comes home and she's already like sleeping or something like that.
Oh, right. And
or, whenever he comes home.
Funny that she compares him to an animal already.
Yeah.
So she gives human attributes to all the animals, and then she's constantly giving animal attributes to her own husband.
Yeah, that seems also really fun too, because like as soon as he enters the bathroom, the camera just pans directly to the toilet. Like he doesn't even tell us that he had to go use it for which function. Like we kind of get the idea like, oh, it might be a number 2 because he's like like fear in his eyes, like he has to use it, but he's not comfortable using it while she's there.
Right. I got to go to the bathroom, but I can't go in front of you. I can't go in front of this woman that I hardly know.
I've been married to for as long as I've been working.
Right. So the next scene is down in the kitchen, and Anita's cooking. She's cooking a big meal too, like a steak and just all kinds of stuff. He sits down, right, to get ready for this feast, and she gives him like just cereal. And she takes a steak and puts it down for the dog. So the dog's got this steak breakfast, and he's going to be eating cereal. And he just has a meltdown really here. Funny. He goes, what's the dog eating? A steak? Are you running some kind of luxury resort for every flea-bitten parasite that trips across my doorstep?
I do love that though. Because like he was so happy when he saw the steak initially. But the eyes were really wide. I remember how wide they were. And it just wasn't for him.
Right. He's like, I can get used to this retired life if my wife's going to be cooking me steak every morning. But little does he know, that steak is for the dog. And I like when he has this meltdown, she consoles him by petting his head. You notice that?
Oh, yeah. She really, when I first, the opening of this episode, I really thought it was going to be something like Pet Cemetery. But like when I figured it was like more comedic, I was like, I have no clue how this is gonna like turn out. Like there's so many animals too.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes where, because the whole premise of the episode, as you're gonna learn as we talk through it, the whole premise is just how much she loves these animals and how much she is like invalidating of her husband as a human. She's constantly more preoccupied with these animals, and that really is the running gag of this episode. So it's almost like this whole episode is a montage of just the way he's treated like an animal, and the animals are treated like people. It takes a bit to finally get to the point of the episode, which I don't mind because all the gags are so funny. I like it. The next scene, we're down in the basement, and he's polishing his hammer. He's hanging up his one reward he got from work, his golden hammer that he doesn't want, but at least he's proud of it. And then we get the introduction of Roy, his neighbor. And did you get the impression that Roy is just a neighbor, or are they also friends? Because he doesn't seem to really appreciate when Roy's around. He seems to kind of be annoyed at Roy as well.
I think Roy is just like one of those friendly neighbors, who's just like kind of checking with his neighbors, and maybe got close to Anita, and he's just been gone 24/7, 52 weeks at a year, 47 years just wasted at his work. So I think him just visiting, it just becomes like they're just friends, but to him it's like a stranger because he's never home, right? Like, this is the first time he's experiencing life normally without work like that. And
right. So he's not really familiar with his wife or his neighbor. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me, because I got the impression that maybe they weren't friends or phony friends. But yeah, if he's always working, then that makes sense that he wouldn't really know his neighbor very well either.
He wouldn't have built that like companionship or any kind of relationship. But I do like Roy. I think Roy's cool.
Oh yeah, Roy's a good neighbor. I like him. And he does want to just be helpful. Roy just wants to be helpful. He brings him a model, like the model of that jet airplane, and says, maybe we can do this together now that you have more time. So I think even Roy wants to spend more time with his neighbor. But Jonas doesn't have any time for that.
Yeah, that's true.
He wants to just be, productive or useful at home. So he goes upstairs to the garden and he starts pruning some bushes that are in the yard.
Yeah, right. Pruning, air quotes.
Right. And he says, I'd go nuts with nothing to do. I'm not going to be one of those geezers that just sits on the porch waving at cars. So he's like determined to be doing something. And while he's cutting the bush here, Jonas confides in Roy that Anita is obsessed with animals. And I like that Roy says, well, everybody knows that she is. She's even once been seen with this squirrel perched right in her head, like she was talking to it or something.
They're just tree rats, as he said.
Right. He called them street rats or tree rats.
Tree rats. Also, not sure if you noticed, but like when he brought up Anita, he was getting more aggressive at pruning, to the point like I don't think he's actually pruning. He's just chopping this tree.
Yeah.
As much as like whatever it was. Yeah.
You know how they say like no animals were harmed in the making of this episode?
Mm-hmm.
I think they also need to have one that says like no bushes were harmed in the making of this episode, because the way he was like feverishly pruning the bush, he took away every piece of green on the bush and just it was a stick when he was done with it.
It was 100% a stick.
Yeah,
I can watch this episode again. It's so good.
He was like feverishly, like just absolutely upset. He seemed like he was like on the verge of a heart attack.
Yeah, he was definitely bursting some blood vessels. He just definitely had high blood pressure the whole time.
Right, I know. Like I got high blood pressure or something. That's funny.
After him pruning, he gets a sandwich from her.
What about the sandwich?
He was fed cat tuna.
Oh, that's right. She made him a tuna fish sandwich, but it wasn't tuna fish. It was
cat. Yeah,
it was canned cat food. That's right.
Yeah, he's getting treated more and more like as it progresses. It just like the slow, subtlety of him being treated like a pet, like an animal, really. Yeah.
Right. The next scene, there, Anita and Jonas are sitting in the living room together, and Jonas has a bit of a cough. This is coughing, and Anita, without missing a beat, maybe it's a hairball. So again, she's treating him or seeing him as an animal. So he says, "No, it's not a hairball. Just give me some aspirin." So he's going through the channels, and the news is saying the spirit of Elvis is in a Doberman Pinscher. And then he changes the channel. He changes the channel, and the story is cougars, originally thought to be scavenging food left by the homeless drifters, are now verified to be feeding on the very homeless themselves. And then the last channel he turns to, of course, is Lassie. I used to watch Lassie as a kid. Timmy and Lassie. That was the most popular show when I was a kid. And when she finally comes back after he turns the TV off, she says, "I brought you a little treat," and it's a brownie. And he eats the brownie, and he's like, "What's in that thing?" She put his aspirin in the brownie. He says, "I'm not an animal. I'm a human being."
It is kind of funny though. Like she doesn't know how to be around her own husband. Just like she's like an animal because she's been around them for so long. It's just so silly.
Right. She's more comfortable treating him like an animal than she would be treating him like a human. Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not very patient with her. So I kind of skate back and forth on who is the more obnoxious character. Is it the man who's just so preoccupied with work, he doesn't have much patience for her? Or is it the woman who is just so inept at dealing with another human being? They're both very inept at dealing with each other. And she does so through seeing him as an animal, and he just doesn't really do much at all.
I could see that. I never found them annoying though. It was hard for me to like, who did I like more? Because like I said, they really played their characters well. Like they were killing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the next scene, we're back in the basement, and Jonas is with Roy. They're kind of hanging out there together, and Jonas complains to Roy about Anita treating him like an animal. And Roy says, "Well, have you considered talking to her? She may not be used to having you around the house all day," which is exactly what's going on, basically. Mm-hmm. But the way Jonas was like, he really stopped to think. Like the way he stopped to think, like made me think, like this guy never considered like talking to her about this issue. That may have been the very first time he ever even thought about talking to her. So Roy goes on to say, "I think the two of you ought to sit down and have a real nice long talk." And that brings us to the next scene, which is another good one. Anita, it's a close-up on Anita. And she says, in the most caring, loving way, she says, "I've been so wrapped up in my own problems. I couldn't see that you had problems of your own. I'm sorry, I really am. We can make a brand new start. We'll be the way we used to be. I'll rub your stomach and you can lick my back." She's talking to the cat the whole time, and the cat's just sitting there on the table licking itself.
Like he's just in shock.
Right, he's watching from the other room like, what the heck is going on? So he leaves. He's not going to try to talk to her anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Next scene, he's out in the garden again, and he's doing some more pruning. And the cat knocks over the pitcher of lemonade. And this is just about the final straw for him. So he takes his garden shears, and he actually starts going to the kitty, like, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," trying to get the cat. And while he's doing this, he trips and falls into the pond out in the garden. He's like covered in mud, just disgusting, gross mud. And he's walking up stairs to go to the bathroom to get rinsed off. He goes into the bathtub. And what should be in the bathtub?
Bunch of koi fishes.
She used the bathtub to house the koi fish. So now he's basically can't even use his shower. So he's just absolutely beside himself with anger at this point. Yeah, he can't even rinse himself off of all this mud without being around all of her pets.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I mean, where the episode almost seems like a montage. They made their point, I think, in the very opening scene, that she was overly obsessed with these animals. And every single scene since then has basically reinforced that. So it's a relatively slow episode in terms of a plot, because it's basically saying the same thing over and over again. But I still like it because it's so much fun, and every situation is funny. The characters are funny, and the situations are, I think, pretty clever. So even though it's kind of a slow-paced episode, I really like it. After this whole koi fish ordeal, Jonas has an idea. He approaches Anita, and he's very happy. He says, "It finally occurred to me. The perfect hobby." What do you think that hobby is?
I think he took Roy's offer, tackling those model planes. I was really happy when Roy brought him a B-1 bomber. I wanted that. The moment Roy gave him that, I was like, I want that B-1 bomber. Are you kidding?
Are you much into models? Do you ever do models?
Yeah, I actually do. I do enjoy models, yeah.
Yeah, I've never done a model, but I've done puzzles, and I think those are very, very similar. So next scene, Jonas is down in the basement, and he's very, very happy. He's happily working on something. And while he's down there working on something, Anita walks down and says, "Jonas, have you seen... Oh, we missed a scene. We missed a scene. I have it in my notes here that she walks down and says, 'Jonas, have you seen Jonas?'" And that reminds me that a couple of scenes ago, they were in the kitchen, and a dog walks in, and its name is Jonas. And she says, "I named it Jonas because it reminds me of you." And it's just like an old, fat, wrinkly bulldog. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the same scene with where he gets fed the cat tuna. It was the exact same scene.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I skipped over that in my notes. I should have mentioned that. But she walks down and says, "Jonas, have you seen Jonas?" And he says, "Jonas is out back." She goes out into the backyard and she sees Jonas has been stuffed. And he's basically just sitting there. And he's got weird lights in his eyes. Like he's not only is he stuffed, he's like robotic or something.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Because he's just flicking the remote back and forth, on and off, on and off, on and off. Just like
that's right. He's got a remote control set up for him.
It was so funny. Be that much of a twist. I mean, it wasn't like a crazy twist, but just like what he just has this kind of version of taxidermy.
So Jonas, the human Jonas, says he's the prize of my collection, part of my new hobby, taxidermy. I'm making adjustments so we can share our common interests. So at this point, we finally get the point. Jonas is revealed to be killing the animals and then stuffing them, which I knew was going to be the ending, but I just watching it again for this review, I realized how long it took to get there. And even though it took a long time to get there, I didn't mind it because it was so much fun along the way. But it was definitely an issue with the episode where it took a long time to finally get to the point. I like how she has a sudden like a seriousness to her. She's like, "Mew Mew, you're not going to touch Mew Mew." Like of all the animals that he's gonna kill and stuff, it better not be Mew Mew.
Well, yeah, Mew Mew was her most recent acquire.
Oh, is that the original cat that was on the doorstep in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh,
the first one she took in before Jonas came in.
I got you. Oh, that's right. That was the one who was on the doorstep in the rain okay, I got you. So Anita goes on this frantic search through the house looking for Mew Mew, and she can't find Mew Mew, but she does find like other animals throughout the house that has been stuffed, like a squirrel has been stuffed and put under her bed, and she keeps looking for Mew Mew, and she ends up going down into the basement, and she sees the basement is just filled with all of the animals that Jonah has been stuffing. And this is a pretty good scene. And this kind of reminds me of the opening panel where, she's up coming into the basement with him down there being surrounded by all these animals that he's been stuffing. All the animals have been stuffed except for Mew Mew. He's holding Mew Mew. And Anita says, "You're not going to kill that cat." And she reaches over and grabs that golden hammer, his prized possession from work, and uses it to knock him over the head.
That whole scene in the basement with all the taxidermy animals, he's so weird with it because he was like rubbing them and like rubbing on his face. He's like just like so proud of his work.
He finally found a way to love the animals as much as she did. Yeah, you're right. He's like touching them and caressing them. He's very, very proud of his work.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Roy was giving him modeled planes because like that's technically what he's doing, but with live creatures. Like he's just reorganizing their bone structure, or their bones and how they formed and shape. Because at one point he's like, you think the large animals are the hardest, but it's actually the small creatures that take the most work. Do you know how many bones there are in the feet of a chipmunk?
Oh my gosh, you're right. He did say that. Oh, yeah. And that's a good point. Yeah. He's like putting them
like
pieces
meticulous.
Together like a puzzle. Yeah. Like a model. He's building his own models. Oh wow. That's an interesting parallel that I didn't pick up on my first time through. But yeah, he ended up taking Roy's advice on modeling.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny.
Well, that's the end of that scene. And the very next scene, they're back up in the living room and it's daytime. And it must be the next morning. And the two of them are watching Lassie together. A very, very sweet retired couple on the couch together watching Lassie. And Anita made tuna sandwiches for lunch. And she tells him how happy she is to have a man around the house to take care of. So she enjoys, I think, making food and being there for her husband at this point. So something changed. Something definitely changed. And that's when Roy arrives. And he asks, how's Jonas? And she says, oh, he's really slowed down and learned how to enjoy life. And that's when it's revealed that Jonas has actually stuffed himself. Well, no, he hasn't stuffed himself. He is himself stuffed. So she stuffed him and he's there and he's sewn together all in a bunch of pieces, just kind of sitting there watching TV.
with like a forced grin and the eyes are just wide open.
Right. His eyes are wide open. So he has to watch whatever she wants him to watch, which is basically Lassie.
Mm-hmm. Poor Roy. He does not deserve that at all. He was a good neighbor. Did not need to be traumatized by that.
And he was traumatized. His look. Oh my goodness. Roy's reaction in this moment, I think, is what makes Tales from the Crypt so great. Or at least a very big part of it. That just their willingness to go so slapstick and so silly is so very much appreciated by me. I loved Roy's reaction. Just absolutely stunned. Eyes wide open, mouth wide open. And that just zoom into his face was very cartoony, shall we say. That was a good one. And with that, we are back to the Crypt Keeper. He says to us, I guess Jonas learned that a hobby can be very self-fulfilling. And that gets my shriek of the week right there. That is, I laughed out loud when I heard that. I was not expecting that. That was a good one. And he closes out by saying, so until next time, I want all of you to sit, stay, play dead. Good boy. And he gives us his cackle and off we go. So, did you have a particular favorite part of the episode or a favorite scene?
Oh, it's so hard, honestly. Like, watching it, I was trying to look for a moment that really stood out for me, but I think just the moment Jonas like really spoke, I just fell in love with how the interaction was taking place. I'm like, yep, every moment is just like good for me. Like, I just could not, like I said, I could not stop grinning. It's just such a good pacing. Like every time the scene ended, there's always something silly the next coming up, and that's like the more. I mean, it was a more comedic Tales of the Crypt, but that's like the style I was more used to with Tales of the Crypt, like just how thorough, like the acting was, and them being in their characters, just like over the top and slapsticky, as you said.
Yeah, if they didn't go the route of being taxidermy, right, and then her killing him. If maybe, let's say, for instance, I don't know, he just started dressing up like a dog. I don't know, just something kind of silly. It would have just been a comedy episode. It wouldn't have been nothing horrific about it. So the horrificness, the scariness, the Tales from the Crypt part of it didn't really come in until the very end. So leading up to that point, it was just a comedy episode. And I had a blast watching it. Their chemistry was on point. They had great chemistry together. And what a relief coming off of the last episode we just watched. Where, remember Lover Come Hack to Me? They had no chemistry together. I didn't understand when they would talk to each other. Like, did they even know each other? Like, it was terrible. These guys didn't know each other either, but they didn't know each other in a similar way that made it funny.
Comedy and horror are very, very, very similar. The difference is like how you kind of take the turns. but they have very similar setups. They have very the way it plays out is very linear and very parallel to each other. So that's why like comedy and horror can always be like interchangeable, and you can always twist something to make it horror or make it comedy again or whichever. And that this episode like really reminded me of that. Like,
yeah, I see them as very similar. You have this rise in tension, and then you have the release, and the release could be funny, or the release could be the final stab, right?
That's what
man in a business suit, banana peel, right? Woman walking home at night, killer with a knife, like it's a very, very the whole setup and payoff. I feel like are very similar in horror and comedy as well. Yeah, they are closely related, and I think some of the best horrors really, really lean into the comedy part of it to kind of ease some of the tension. Oh my gosh! If I try to think of a favorite part of this episode, I don't know. There's a lot. It's just a funny episode. I think any scene that you dump on could just be a moment I'm willing to just sit and watch. Very, very fun episode. Let's get to ratings. Let's go to ratings. Yeah. So. Yes, I would watch this episode again. Yes, I'd recommend this episode to Tales from the Crypt fans if they haven't seen it yet. And I'd also recommend this to people who are not Tales from the Crypt fans. I think it's not necessarily very horrific. So I think a lot of people could enjoy this. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. And the reason I'm not going to 5 is because even though I really did enjoy all the scenes leading up to the actual main event of him becoming a taxidermist, it did go on too long. I really wish it would have gotten to that point a little sooner and then maybe done more with the twist at the end, or more with the whole creepy, just more with the whole creepy part at the very end. I feel like I wish they would have done more with that. So 4.5 stuffed squirrels.
Stuffed squirrels, okay. I also like this episode a lot, Kenny. So I was actually willing to give it 4.5 model kits because I thoroughly enjoyed this episode through and through. Like, it's just hard for me not to choose a moment where I didn't enjoy. It's just hard for me to like give it a negative review. Yeah, realistically, it's fun for me.
So what do you think about it is keeping you from the 5?
I think because I'm just used to Tales from the Crypt being a little bit more gory or just a little more grotesque in some way with the episode. I guess this would be horrific if you're a huge animal lover, because then you don't want to see any of that stuff. But for me, like I'm not that in love with animals to the like how Anita was. So I think if I had a better kill, maybe, or maybe like you said earlier, like something with a twist made it more creepy, or something that just brought it back to being like Tales from the Crypt in terms of atmosphere. Like after they got through all like the comedic effects, I think I could have bumped it to a 5. But honestly, I think it's great as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, even the opening panel with that really creepy, mysterious kind of whatever's going on down in the basement. That really evil looking face he has while doing something to the animal. Like, I really wish they would have leaned into that sooner. They just it took a little too long to get there. All right, so 4.5 and a 4.5 for an average of 4.5. There you have it.
Whoa.
All right. And before we go, I did want to take some time for some correspondence. I have a correspondence here from @JosephHill. Hey guys, really enjoying the show so far. Looking forward to watching every episode. Big fan of Tales from the Crypt. I even have a life-size crypt keeper in my house, and I got John Kasser to record my voicemail at a horror convention. How cool is that?
I think that's really cool, honestly, because a life-size crypt keeper, and he has a personal recorded, message from John Kasser. That's
really
neat.
Cool. That's really cool. John Kasser, if you ever listen to this, which I doubt you ever will, but hopefully we'll get we'll get you there. I'd love for you to do our opening. That'd be fantastic.
Joseph Hill, honestly, might have his number.
Joseph goes on to say, as you mentioned in previous episodes, the Crypt Keeper isn't quite his full self in the first season. That has a lot to do with the show's budget increasing as the seasons progress. Then they were able to do more elaborate things with the character. So I didn't know that. his more subdued rendition of the Crypt Keeper had something to do with how animated the actual animatronic could be. I thought it was really interesting. Plus, the more Kasser played the character, the more he mastered the voice and personality, which makes a lot of sense. So, Joseph, thank you so much for the trivia. Definitely appreciate that. And I'm hoping that we can rely on your expertise of the show going forward. So if you ever have any little tidbits of information about the production as a whole or in a particular episode, please feel free to reach out and make another comment, and we'll see what we can do about getting it on the podcast. And remember, this is a relatively new podcast, and not just a new podcast in terms of, only being episode 6, but a new podcast to us. This is my first time doing a podcast. It's your first time doing a podcast. So if there's any sort of help or advice that you guys could offer, I'd absolutely accept those in the comments and take them, take any suggestions to heart. So I'm definitely, here to try to improve as well. So with that, our next episode, this being the season finale, our next episode will not be season 2 yet. We're going to do one more ranking episode. So we're going to go ahead and go through and rank season 1. So if you want to follow along with us, finish up season 1, watch the episodes again, and maybe come up with your own ranking. And then you can kind of keep us in the loop on how you would rank the episodes. So we'll see you all next week for our ranking of season 1. Have a good week, everybody.
Exciting.
Very exciting. Have a good week. We'll see y'all later. Take care of yourselves. And remember, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a review. We're a new podcast, and we can really use the help on having our podcast be reviewed. So take care of yourselves. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and do all that jazz. See y'all later, guys.